good evening and warm welcome to all the participants. Thank you very much for joining this session. I am Rupa, Secretary at BCIC. On behalf of Bangalore Chamber of Industry and Commerce, we express our sincere thanks to Dr. Subarno Bose, who is the Chairman and CEO of IIHM and IndiSmart Group Worldwide and CEO of International Hospitality Council London, for accepting our invitation to interact with our members, sir. Thank you very much, sir, for accepting our invitation. The session is organized under the aegis of Tourism, Hospitality and Travel Expert Committee. The committee is led by Mr. Vineet Verma, who is also our Vice President, as well as who is the Director of Brigade Hospitality. Welcome you, sir.
Thank you, Rupa.
The committee is co-chaired by Ms. Pushpa Tantri, who is the Program Head and Akshara Foundation, and Ms. Sanchari Chaudhary, Director, IIHM Hotel School, Bangalore. A warm welcome to you, all of you once again. The Chamber expresses our sincere thanks to our annual sponsors, Bueller, Fundermax, MTR, IMPL, SDMIMD, Sona Group, TVS, Vishwas, and then Wipro for their support by way of annual sponsorship. I now hand over the stage to Ms. Sanchari Chaudhary. Over to you, Sanchari.
Thank you so much, Ms. Rupa, Secretariat, and the entire team of Bangalore Chamber of Industry and Commerce, under the very able leadership of Mr. President Dr. L. Ravindran. A very good evening and namaste to our wonderful audience. As we gear up for a trailblazing session on developing a career in the hospitality industry, I would request all of you to grab a cup of coffee for the evening and get ready to have some informative and interesting conversations about this dynamic and ever-growing industry. One of the oldest and noblest activities in the world that still survives today is the practice of hospitality. From the lands that gave the world the concept of Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam, the world is one family, we greet all the esteemed members of this gathering. Hospitality is a universal concept that brings together people from all cultures, regardless of how many boundaries separate them. It is our moral obligation to bring the idea of such a career to the youth of today, where they can gather cross-cultural experiences and develop themselves holistically while being employed in one of the most innovative and vibrant industries in the world. This evening, under the aegis of the Hospitality, Tourism and Travel Expert Committee, we bring to you a very special session on bridging the gap in hospitality, how to make it a preferred career option. To proceed with this very engaging topic, I would like to introduce the special speaker of the evening, Dr. Subarno Bose, a brilliant chartered accountant and founder of IndiSmart Group on IIHM, is a first-generation entrepreneur, hospitality icon. He's a man behind the Young Chef India schools, Young Chef India Junior, and the Young Chef Olympiad series that promotes young culinary talent across the country and the world. He's also the CEO of the International Hospitality Council UK and initiated the International Hospitality Day in the year 2015, which is celebrated every year on the 24th of April. He believes in striving hard to provide the best platform in tech education in every field. Therefore, he founded EduGuy, an online education and admission platform. He has penned the very famous book, The Art of Hospitality, an engaging read that explores many facets of hospitality sector and has made relevant contribution to the book Managing Complexity and COVID-19, among others. Dr. Bose is a prolific speaker and has spoken in several international and national conferences and business leaders meet. He has received several prestigious awards, including the Economic Times Most Promising Business Leader of Asia Award in the presence of the Honorable Prime Minister of Malaysia. He also has received the ET Now Business Leader of the Year Award in the year 2020. Acknowledging and applauding his pioneering vision of giving a new meaning to hospitality education, Dr. Subarno Bose was awarded the Times Men of the Year Award as Times Visionary Leader in 2022. He has been conferred with honorary doctorate by Queen Margaret University, UK, Edinburgh Napier University, and University of West London, UK. He's a passionate foodie and a home cook and loves to fly his microlight aircraft. In conversation with him this evening, we have Mr. Vineet Verma, Vice President, BCIC, Chairman, Expert Committee on Hospitality, Tourism and Travel, Director, Brigade Hospitality, and Managing Director, World Trade Center in Bangalore. A very, very warm welcome to both you gentlemen. May I now invite Mr. Verma to take the session forward with Dr. Shivannu Bose.
Thank you, Sanchari. I think I feel it a great privilege to have Dr. Bose on the panel today with the kind of accomplishments that he has had in his life. I think he's a source of inspiration for most of the youngsters today, I'm sure. So thank you, Dr. Bose, for finding time to join us. We want today's session to be a quite interesting and but as Sanchari mentioned, is one of the oldest professions in the world. But what we see of late in the last, at least the last 2 to 3 years, ever since pandemic hit us, it was like an awakening for all of us, and particularly in the hospitality domain. And so I would begin by sort of, requesting you to share your thoughts as to what is the kind of trend that you have observed in the kind of students seeking admission in the hospitality colleges or the hotel schools across the country. And what do you think has been the trend? Has there been a drop? Has there been a noticeable drop or an increase? And if so, what could be the reason?
Thanks very much, Mr. Vineet Verma. It's again a great moment of happiness to see you back after a long, long time. And thanks, Sanchari. Thanks, Rupa. Thanks, all the audience. My apologies for being late due to I just landed actually to Delhi, but then to come straight away to the question, I think there has been a drop. There has been a drop during the COVID period, and there has been a drop during this year. But I don't think it's a very noticeable drop as far as our group of institution, IIHM. We have got 10 campuses all over India. The drop I reckon is around 15 to 18% on an average, and that drop is I think very temporary. I feel that the COVID effect has still quite strong, and there are still students who are not very keen to join hospitality. But I think as compared with the last year, the COVID year, there has been noticeable increase in the admissions. But if I am to compare the numbers of this year with the pre-COVID number, I think we are about 18% down. But the good thing is that since the class 12 examinations have been delayed and the results have been delayed, especially CBSE, I think the admissions are still going on, still will be going on till middle of November. So we will see the numbers. But I think there is a drop, and which is quite surprising because hospitality is doing quite well. There has been a lot of demand, and there has to be more awareness. And I think next year would be more or less back to the pre-COVID numbers, Vinit.
Dr. Bose, what we are facing, what I have personally been seeing is that while, as you rightly said, there has been a drop in admissions, people seeking admission in the hospitality profession, the larger challenge remains that even those who are actually graduating from the hotel management schools, including IHMs in India. In fact, I was speaking with some very senior officials about IHM. There have been a lot of vacancies there also in terms of admissions. So, and at the same time, what I've also noticed is that a lot of these hospitality graduates, hotel management graduates, are ultimately choosing different fields altogether. They're not wanting to stick on to hotels. And I think a pandemic has also sort of awakened that spirit in them that there are far better, greener pastures other than hospitality. So how do we sort of address this? Because I'm talking from a hotelier perspective. Let's give a simple example that even if, let's say, across the country, of course, we are opening more than that, but even if I took an average of 1,000 rooms opening every year in India, and even if I was to take, let's say, a 1.5 or 2:1 ratio for staff requirement, we are talking about an annual requirement of about at least 2,000 fresh talent in the market, in the hospitality sector. We have not been seeing that kind of talent coming into the industry. So there's a huge challenge, and I thought you're the right person to sort of tell us that what is the way forward.
Yes, yes. In fact, it's quite interesting. I had a very interesting meeting today morning with Zubin Saxena, who is the CEO, MD of the Radisson, and they are ramping up their numbers of the rooms from around 12,000 to 18,000 in the next 4 years. And like any other CEOs and MDs of the hotel group, he is also very, very concerned about the people, because we are the people industry. The entire industry, as Sanchari was telling very nicely, it's all been the people, which is by the people, for the people, of the people. And people are the biggest component, although technology is going to play a very important role. So to come to your question, to respond to it, we have been seeing that there is a more trend towards hospitality than hotels. So there was time when it used to be um, hotel management. Now it is hospitality management. So when we also teach a lot of things which we are teaching now are not really for hotel but for the service industry. For example, we are teaching them hospitality technology. We are teaching in all the 3 years at IIHM syllabus digital marketing, all the 3 years, first, second, third year. So we are actually preparing them for a career in hospitality, and not essentially for the hotel sector or the food sector. So this is where the interesting thing. In fact, this time we had a quite a big intake of placement from the Geo World in Mumbai, and they have got a huge facility in Mumbai, as we all know. And I think they have recruited over 120 students from us. We have got campus interviews from the fashion brands like Adidas, from Tommy Hilfiger, Nike, Puma. We have got campus interview from hospitals in our Delhi campus, where they're recruiting big numbers, because everybody love hospitality students. Their attitude, their hardworking spirit, and their DNA of the service, and hard and long hours are very important. They're very articulate. Everybody loves them. I mean, it doesn't matter whether you are in the retail, or you're in FMCG, or you are even finance, or selling car, or selling liquor in a duty-free shops. Very interestingly, I saw one of my student of the COVID batch last year's in the duty-free in Delhi when I was traveling to London last week, and I was having a good chat with him, and he is getting very well paid, and he's very happy. So he said, I'm very happy, I don't want to go to hotels, I'm very happy here, and I work for a big company, and they're coming up with a private lounge for the VVIPs in the airport, and he will possibly be the deputy manager or assistant manager in 2 years time. So these are the new areas. I mean, obviously, when we used to teach 5 years back, or even 3 years back, the education was very much focused uh, towards the hotel, food, that sector. But now we are also teaching a lot to the general service sector, hospitality sector. So coming from the hotelier's point of view, and which is a very good question from your side, and being a hotelier yourself, I think is very concerning. And Zubin was telling the same thing. What will happen to my 18,000 rooms? Who are going to man it? I think the answer lies also in that we need to create a band of students, a band of students who possibly can be 1 year or 18 months course, not a 3 year full-blown program, who can be for the hotel food service sector. We are actually affiliated with the Tourism and Hospitality Skill Council of India, and we are starting from January, February in most of our campuses. 1.5 year program, the 1 year program, and a 6 months internship. And we are tying up with different brands. We already signed one MOU with Marriott, where the Marriott is actually taking over X number of students who are studying for this program. So I think the answer is that we need to create a new cohort of students and teach them hospitality, as in hotel and restaurant and the food service industry. Food service, again, Vinit, is very big now. It's not just about hotels. Of course, hotels still remains our bread butter. But now we have seen that explosion of the cafes, the pubs. If you see in Gurgaon, the cyber hubs, everywhere there's so much of restaurants, hotel, food service. I think this is another big sector where the students wants to go. I think we need to create a band of human resources from this 18 months course also, who would be for the hotels as well. And of course, the 3-year course, which is the prime course at a different price point, has to be for the hospitality, including hotels, who will be mostly for the management trainees or the Marriott Voyages program, or the Taj TMT program, or the Oberoi's GAC program, the OCLD program. So there has to be like hotel, different segments of training, education at different price points. And that is how we can tackle this huge number of people required by our industry.
Thank you. I think what you just basically corroborated with what I said about the concerns that while from your school point of view, you are happy to see that all your students get placed in some profession or the other, not necessarily hotels. And that is where we are facing a challenge. That particularly where we are talking about the line staff, for example, not just management graduates. I'm talking about even the line staff. I'm talking about the food production. I'm talking about the F&B service. I'm talking about simple things like housekeeping. So the question is, how does one sort of address that situation? You mentioned about a short-term course as against a 3-year course.
Yeah, you can start talking. Yeah, you can start talking. Yeah, you're unmuted. You can say.
Hello.
Yeah,
Can you hear me?
May I continue?
Yeah.
I think
Can
your screen.
you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, except your image has gone a bit hazy now. You've gone onto a different camera, I think.
Yes, we're just changing. So to give you answer, I'm just working on a video. Just to give you answer, we are coming back to the specialized operational areas. Like just now you mentioned about housekeeping. I think personally, I believe housekeeping is one of the most important area in any hotel. It's a mother of any property, mother of any hotel. And there were time when people were used to avoid housekeeping, but used to go for food and beverage or possibly being a chef. But now again, housekeeping is coming back. And I think these are the things which are top of our agenda as educators, as hotel management institution, that we need to create big resources in India for the subjects like housekeeping, for the subjects like food and beverage, in the bar, in the restaurant. And there has to be multitasking. What we have actually learned during the COVID time also is that we have to come out of shared specialization, that I am in food and beverage means I will not work anywhere else. I think that has to go. Every hotelier now will like to have all-rounders. We need a lot of Hardik Pandya kind of hotel graduates who can possibly come in the breakfast in the morning, then go for sales call, possibly if required can stand in the front office, somebody has not come, managed a concierge if required, and then possibly go to work in housekeeping, come back to sales, and come for dinner service in restaurant. So we need to create multi-skilled, very smart young people who are not really so specialized that I am only food and beverage, I'm only housekeeping, I'm only somebody in the front office. Of course, the chefs are different. If we take out the chefs from this particular discussion, I think they have to be generalist. You cannot be so specialist. And I think that way the hotelier will also recruit that kind of characters, all-rounders who can fit in. And I don't think our industry is so technical that somebody working in housekeeping cannot work in F&B, or somebody who is serving in F&B cannot go to front office and greet a guest and do a quick reservation on Opera. I think they are, if you can give them the right skills. And I think that is the future, where we need to create multi-skilled non-specialist, generalist people?
In fact, Dr. Bose, that's what precisely. I'll give you an example. We have 8 operating hotels in the brigade, and that's exactly the mantra that we have adopted during the pandemic, to do more with less. That's a mantra I've introduced across all our properties. I'll give you a classic example. If, let's say, a particular hotel earlier had a staffing strength of 2:1, we have brought it down to about 1:1 or even less than 1:1, but we are still doing an equally efficient job. So that is what the pandemic has taught us, of multi-skilling, like multitasking, multi-skilling. But the challenge lies therein. What happens is we have trained somebody to be multi-skilled. We have trained somebody to be adept at quite a few other professions just than his own core profession. And what do you see? The next day is poached by somebody else. He's poached by a facility management company. I mean, that's the latest trend, by the way, that I have lost a lot of people from housekeeping, particularly from housekeeping department to the facility management business, offices and IT offices, IT parks. And what happens is that, this young generation, they have something called this, and I'm sure quite a few of them are logged in today. I'm speaking on their behalf, that, that they're looking for a work-life balance. They're looking for a 5-day week so they can go back, they can holiday on Saturday, Sunday, be with the family. Unfortunately, hotel profession doesn't allow for that. Hotel profession asks for long hours, 6 hours, I mean, 6 days a week. So my question to you is, which is a larger question, is that how do we ensure or make the hotel profession, despite all its hardships, despite all its long hours, 6-day week, sometimes even a 7-day week, still make it an attractive proposition as a career option for youngsters to even seek admissions in your schools, even seek admissions in your short-term programs? So how do we make it all the more attractive?
See, first and foremost, what I think is that our industry is very passionate. It's like people who are passionate can only, thrive for a longer period and can become managers. And so the passion factor is something very important here. This is not a robotic industry. Even our students do understand that during the Christmas or Diwali, when people are enjoying, they have to work. It's just like a pilot or a policeman or a fireman, that they have to work on the days when possibly their neighbors and others will enjoy or party. So that's one point. But I think the bigger question, which I'm actually in a way lobbying with the CEOs of the companies, big hotel brands, uh, and I have been successful to some extent, is to the payroll cost. I think the payroll cost has to go up. And I'm a chartered accountant by education, so I can say that it's not easy. It's easier said than done. However, having said that, we have to also understand that our industry in India is different from industry in Europe. In Europe, possibly you were telling about 1:1. In Europe, it is almost zero point 0.5, where everything is like there is no concierge. You take your own luggage. You do a mobile check-in if required. I've seen hotels like I myself then did mobile check-in in Premier Inn in Heathrow. And that's much easy, because if I stand in a queue, it will take me 1 hour. And this kind of automation, but it has taken that human touch, the human element out of the hospitality. And in India, I don't think that that is practicable or that will be accepted by our clientele, our customer, who do expect that touch. Even when you are wearing a mask, they expect you to smile, to take their luggage onto a room, to come and serve them, which is very typical of Indian situation. And we have to understand hospitality is one of the best in the world because of the people. Because of this, Indian hospitality is the best. I mean, because we are not so tech savvy, because we are not so tech dependent, and because we still smile, come and talk with guests. But having said that, I think payroll percentage cost has to go up. There are many hotel brands now who are doing six days in a month off, which is possible. I know Hyatt is doing 6 days a week, 6 days in a month. There are brands who are giving good loyalty points, good incentive, like you can stay with your family in any of the brand's property for 3 nights, free of cost, something like that, to give them more incentive to come and join and enjoy. And I believe the work-life balance will be little different from what you get in a retail or the FMCG. always. You cannot get. It's like a it's like a medical profession. You cannot get. If you are a heart cardiologist, you will get called in the Sunday night. Somebody has a heart attack. You have to go. So obviously you can't say that I'm having I can't go. So I think we have to also prepare our student to that kind of a profession, but also compensate them by monetary and non-monetary parts. We need to give them a good uh, career, because today when I see my alumni who are 10 years plus, 8 years plus, they have become executive chef. In Bangalore itself, there are many of my alumni who are general manager, people like Rupam, Vikas, then executive chef Jatinder. So many of them. So I see the salary which they are getting, the kind of lifestyle which they're leading. I think it's very, very good. So I think initial few years are a little bit of a struggle. But then once you are into it, you can really, really go up very fast, much faster than the other industry. So as an industry, we need to work together. Industry cannot work and dictate everything of their own. I think they need to come as a team, as a stakeholder, educators, industry, the all have to sit together and come to this. I think it's already happening when it I know Accord is already done it to some extent. They have increased the unit level salary by almost 30%. There are other groups who are doing the same. I'm sure it will take maybe another 6 months to 1 year time, but the industry would be paying better salaries and better environment, better working environment, and better career option. Because young students should be encouraged to see it. You are not going for a job, you're going for a career. Job and career are different. They have to understand that getting a job may be easy, as you said very rightly. Your housekeeping staff have been poached by a facility management, but then they lost a career. They got a job, but they lost a career. Do you need a job or do you want a career? We need to make them understand career is more important than a job.
No, this very, very good observations, Doctor. I think I couldn't agree with you more. In terms of payroll, you see what happens is it's more a function of percentages. It's a more a function of how the hotel is doing in terms of business. We generally work on an operating basis where, anywhere between 19 to 21% of your top line goes towards payroll costs. So I think it's something that it's not that hoteliers are not willing to pay, but the problem is that the competition in the market is such that nowadays people are being offered dollar salaries. People working in India but working in US time for US companies. Obviously, hotel industry cannot match those kind of salaries. At the same time, I think you raised a very, very good point is that, people have to start taking it as a career option, not just a simple job, and for which you need to have that passion in you. You need to have the passion and the spirit of Atiti Devo Bhava. That's what India is famous for. That you need to have the spirit to serve. You need to have that passion in you. You need to love the opportunity that a career in hospitality will offer you, etc. I entirely agree with you on that. At the same time, I would also like to add that there are certain policies where as you rightly said, we all have to work together as stakeholders, starting from educational institutions led by you, hoteliers like us, and then of course the government, because there are certain fallacies, there are certain discrepancies in some policies of the government also, where we have been pushing very aggressively. For example, the Shop and Establishment Act laws, which are very archaic, which are very old. And today, for example, as you know, that the overtime rules, now as far as the hotel is concerned, you cannot be governed by the overtime rule, where you are not allowed to give more than 4 hours overtime to an employee for more than a week. In a week, not more than 4 hours of overtime. Now, how does one do that? It's not possible. So we have been facing those challenges as well. So I think we need to, and in your opinion, what are the kind of policies that also need to be looked at, where we can approach the respective governments, across the country? So any observations on the policy side, that which are the things
Yes.
that you need some examination?
I think Vinit, you hit the nail actually. I think the first and foremost, we should be industry. We should be considered as an industry. I think Maharashtra have shown us the way that as an industry, the benefits which you get. We have to encourage the investor, the real estate people who are actually the owners of most of the hotels, they should be encouraged in all states. I think as a policy, we have to recognize tourism as an industry. That way, the so many advantages, tax holidays, subsidies, interest rate for the loans get reduced, and that will encourage more people to come to this industry. It is still not an industry. It is still we are a very kind of a loosely say industry. It's not industry as per the government of India or government or state governments. I think that is one thing. Secondly, I think there are certain taxes which are very typical of each state, and for a brand which has got their hotels all over India, it becomes very difficult. So there should be some kind of an uniform policy. Uniform policies, just like you gave an example of the Shop and Establishment Act. In West Bengal, there is still one act which is called Saral Act, which is the only state in the country which has got that apart from the bar license, you have to get that registration and that renewal, which is absolutely archaic history, prehistorical. So people don't understand that we have to progress to the next level of hospitality, tourism. People are so interested to come to India. And then, of course, we have to also see the policy of the government in terms of the tourism. Like I was in UK last week, and so many of our friends wants now to come to India, especially in places like Rajasthan, Goa, Coorg, your Kochi. But the visas are taking about 4 months, 4 weeks to 6 weeks. And after that, sometimes it is coming rejected. And people are talking about tit for tat policy, and I don't know why I don't understand this. I only feel that India is just losing out on huge revenue. I know people who have cancelled their ticket and now going to Greece and other places in Middle East, because the Indian government is showing no inclination to give visa to the UK British tourist. Now the tourists don't understand this political diplomacy between two countries. They want to come to India. 2 years they haven't come. They want to come to Goa, enjoy the sunshine. They want to come to Rajasthan. They can't come. So we need to really be practical about our tourism policy. We need to be welcoming, not in our lip service, but actually doing it. Sustainability, I think, is very important. The government has to make sure that sustainability practices are implemented. I mean, we can't just say that no plastic and no bottles become about sustainability. Sustainability is about the 17 SDGs, and that includes things like quality education, gender equality, sustainable consumption, waste management. There are 17 pillars of the SDGs which the government have to implement and encourage the youngsters to exercise that. Just talking about it, lip service won't really help. Then you see the aggregators or the food aggregators which has come. So there has been so much of action happening in the food sector. Food sector suddenly becomes so aggressive, so much vibrant. People are eating more. People are spending more money on the food without even going to the restaurant. You are still getting food at home. But again, there should be some kind of a regulation on that. I think in the way things are going, I know in Bangalore, I was telling my friends there are one company which has got over 150 cloud kitchens, which they don't have. They've actually got one cloud kitchen, but if you go to the listings, you will get 150.
Oh.
So we need to have some kind of a discipline in the aggregator system. That's all I'm saying. I mean, I'm all for this. I'm all for getting more business, people eating more, but also some discipline should be there.
I agree entirely. And I just have one final question for you before we open it up for Q&A. I'm sure there are a lot of questions waiting to be asked before you. What are your views? We are talking about service charges or gratuity for staff. You're talking about incentivizing staff. Give you an example of US, which I'm sure you are also aware of, that a person's earning in F&B in US, 30% comes from the basic salary. 70% are gratuities. That's why it makes it more attractive for them to join the hospitality sector. In India, they are against even us collecting service charges in restaurants and hotels. They made it illegal unless, there are a lot of do's and don'ts. So what are your personal views on this introduction of service charges? Do you think we should go for it? Unfortunately, what happens is, and I'm being very blunt on this, see, in US or any other place where I also frequently go, it's a matter of habit that, you convey your appreciation by leaving a gratuity. But in India, unless you are asked to leave a gratuity, you just walk away without leaving anything. I mean, so how do we sort of, what are your personal views on service charges or gratuity for staff? And what do you think is the way forward?
I think I completely agree with you. I've been also a big propaganda. I'm a propagandist of service charges. I think like anywhere in the world, like any other developed country, we should not ban or we should not stop to put a reasonable service charge of 10 to 12%. We are not putting, so long it is within a reasonable, and even the judgment of the court, of the apex court, did mention that we can't stop someone who want to pay. So the only thing is that you have to tell them. But then it is already written in the menu card. Generally, in our menu card, it is already written that service charges 10% extra, something like that. So which is a contract. And once you order a food from a menu card, in fact, legally speaking, that's the contract between the customer or the diner and the restaurant. So the contract is not always written. If I go to your restaurant and if I order something after seeing the menu card, that's a contract. That's a verbal contract. And I think the court have not stopped it. Only the court have said that it has to be written prominently on the menu card, and possibly you can ask before the bill. But I think I agree with you completely that service charges are something which is to be included. It should be something which will encourage the young people to come and join the industry, because that money don't goes to the owner. That money is distributed to the employees. So that is a way forward for me.
Thank you, Dr. Bose. So Sanchari, I'll probably now hand over the baton to you, moderate the rest of the panel, the Q&A, and take it forward from there.
Right. Thank you so much, Mr. Verma. Thank you so much, sir. I mean, it's always wonderful to hear you. And I think this conversation between yourself and Mr. Verma has been extremely engaging, very important for everybody who's representing the industry. Whether they are a student, whether they are basically working at this point of time, it's very important for them to know these aspects very well of the business and definitely the industry that we are all representing. I would be starting, Dr. Bose, with one question which, one of the audience members has already posted on the group. And this is, again, a very important question today in the world of education that we are all in. This would be, would short-term courses be appreciated by the industry same way as graduation does?
So there are different kind of programs. See, I mean, short-term, long-term, I don't understand. I understand education. When you talk about education, that education is a very lifelong process. It's not a course duration. Education should not be equated with the duration of a course. I know there are some courses in IT which can be as less as for 6 months course, but they're so intense that you can earn a lot of money if you do well in that course. Maybe a cyber security course will be for maybe 9 months, but there's so much jobs in cyber security these days after we are seeing what's happening all over the world. So it's not the duration, but it's the intensity of the course. It is the way the course has been delivered. It's the way the course been executed, and the placement and the student experience. I think the student experience is very important in our industry. And I think the industry will definitely welcome the course, because industry will see the student, the industry will see the employee. Industry will not judge whether it's a 3-year or 4-year or a 1 year. If somebody is good, he is well trained, has the right attitude and the spirit of service, I think industry will very well recruit. So I'm sure that the short-term courses would be good for people who don't want to go for a 3-year program or a graduation program, but still wants a good job and can get up on the ranks. I'm sure, and I don't see anything wrong in it. I think it's a good proposition in today's market. And I can just draw a small parallel with the IT sector. Like if you remember, it used to be BCA course at one point of time. Now nobody really do a BCA course. They do short-term, very focused courses like on cloud computing, on cyber security, on blockchain, on cryptocurrency. So they do, and they get job in that area. They don't do a 3-year BCA anymore. So I think similarly, we need to be, creating the pool of resources for different price points.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bose. Sir, I have another question, which in fact has been put across to us here. This would be regarding multi-skilling. Now, multi-skilling definitely has been always a very, very important part of every particular sector. But then definitely today, every industry leader, business leader, and hospitality leaders are looking for that. How would you be basically, talking about it, sir? And this is not just about the ones who are just graduating, but also the people who are in the system for many years. So we would like to hear from your end, Dr. Bose.
Yeah, ultimately, in hospitality industry, we are all multi-skiller. If you see a hotel manager, if you see a DOP, if you see a general manager, in fact, they are much more multi-skiller than only operational multi-skiller. They are multi-skilling apart from operation, they are multi-skilling with the revenue management, they are multi-skilling with the HR, they are multi-skilling with the technology, they are multi-skilling with another 100 things, because that is what they have to do. Every time they are been comparing with the competitors, the price points. They also at the same time seeing that there's a very VIP wedding happening. They have to go and meet the consul generals. They have to be visible. They have to be socially relevant. They have to be very, very alert and agile to the social media, which is, and so it's multi-skilling. It's not just about the operation departments of cooking and food and beverage and accommodation. Multi-skilling is about the entire gamut of the hospitality operation. And I think people management comes first. It doesn't matter whether you are a chef. At this day, chefs cooks less. They manage more. If you're talking about executive chef, tell me how many item an executive chef cooks in a year. How many times he goes to the on the oven. His job is to manage the kitchen, to manage his chef, to manage the cost, to do the menu engineering, to make sure that the sourcing is reliable and cheap, and then price wise they are getting a better deal. So entirely our job is about people. If you can manage people, I think you can manage any department. So multi-skilling is not limited to that 4 or 5 departments. It's the full gamut. I mean, we have to create a lot of micro general managers, mini and micro general managers. Of course, being a kitchen will be a talented job, but again, I mean, except in the kitchen, I think anybody should be able to do everything.
Right, sir. Thank you so
one
much.
More thing I want to add here. One more thing I want to add here, Sanchari, technology. People must be technologically savvy. The way things are changing, embracing technology is very important. They have to be very importantly, they understand technology, whether it's about your POS system. It's very important. Technology is something you have to embrace.
Thank you so much, sir. Definitely very, very important for all of us to understand that, both in education and definitely the industry that we are all representing. We have a final question for the evening, sir, and this would be a very interesting question, something that you have represented already during your travel in London. That is where you represented Durga Puja in London on the Thames. Dr. Bose, do you think that festivals like Durga Puja have an impact on tourism building?
Yes, hugely. In fact, in Bengal, actually, the Durga Puja has been given that intangible heritage tag by the UNESCO, which actually brought a big change. But this is the first year. And of course, we are just out of COVID, and visa regime has been quite unfortunately strict for the foreigners to come to India right now. But I'm sure this is going to become one of the biggest tourist attraction, not just in Bengal, but in India. Because if somebody comes to Bengal, he's not going back from Bengal to his country. He's going to south of India. He's going to north, the Golden Triangle after Goa. So it's definitely going to be a big pull factor for the tourist. I fully agree.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bose. In fact, from the BCIC, I suggest, I think we do not have any further questions for the evening, but then the conversation between both of you definitely has been a great learning for everyone, especially for the ones who are actually looking out for a career in hospitality and tourism. I think we all represent a very beautiful industry, a very magnanimous industry, which is filled with opportunities, and that definitely is the base and foundation of any particular industry that people basically want to go ahead tomorrow and become a part of. So I'm certain this has been extremely engaging. I'm extremely thankful for this to happen today. We are extremely happy from the team, Bangalore Chamber of Industry and Commerce, from Mr. Vineet Verma and all of us, of course, in the ages of hospitality, tourism, and travel. And definitely from the president, Dr. L. Ravindran, and the team, administration team. We are extremely happy to have you here, sir, and be with us and definitely engage in this conversation on the most beautiful thing that we all kind of always dream about, and that is hospitality. We eat, live, and dream hospitality always. And the students who are a part of this particular session today, online and definitely on all different platforms, I'm certain you have basically got all your doubts cleared. This is definitely the industry which all of us should be a part of. And I'm certain everybody who has had doubts and definitely any kind of questions in their mind pertaining to the industry, they've got that clear today with this beautiful industry. Thank you so much.
Sanchari, thank you, Mr. Vineet Verma. Thank you, Bangalore Chamber of Industry.
Rupa, any concluding remarks, Rupa?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. It was quite an exhaustive session and a very good learning experience.
Exhaustive or exhausting?
Very in-depth, sir.
Okay. No, I thought you said exhausting, then I felt a bit bad.
No, exhaustive, sir.
Okay.
So it was quite a learning experience also for us. And we would like to have many more sessions with you, Dr. Bose. We would be happy to host you at our chamber. We heartily extend the invitation, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Rupa, and thank you to all the members of the Bangalore Chamber of Industry and Commerce, and happy Diwali to all of you.
Happy Diwali. Happy Diwali. Thank you so much. And thank you, audience. You've been a lovely audience. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, Mr. Verma and Rupa ma'am and everybody. Thank you so much, audience. And happy and sustainable Diwali to everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.